Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with Tommy Grisafi, Advanced Trading. Mixed closes in grain and livestock futures on Friday. But Tommy, let's kind of break these down a little bit. While the grain complex, pretty much everything looks range bound. Corn did end lower on Friday. We just can't seem to get above technical resistance, including that 50-day moving average, can we?
No, and I've been enjoying looking at the moving average, and I've been a cheerleader hoping for higher prices, but the weight of that burdensome supply is real. We can't fake having too much. We can pretend we're running out, and every once in a while we do get short supplied of grains. And boy, once the American farmer and the world farmer overproduce, we end up with too much. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about when we talk about too much corn. You and I and everyone else looking at a quote board, we're watching corn trade up overnight, and then we tend to just drift off during the day. This new interest cost, almost every farmer's went now recently and renewed operating. Whether they're using their operating or not, they could actually be taking that depreciating asset or asset that's going nowhere right now. Corn, as you've said, it's in a sideways price action. If we were filmed this a week ago, we would have been so excited that corn was up 21 at one point during the crop report. But here, fast forward a week ahead, we are way off those highs and just range bound again. So corn getting moved before farmers actually go in the field and start planting. People are getting a little corn brought to town, Michelle.
Yeah, I would think that the bin doors are going to be shut after guys start hitting the field. So maybe a little bit of movement there, as you point out. Okay, the corn market feels like it's wanting at times to follow the wheat market. Wheat was higher on Friday. Is that just short covering at this point?
Oh, great question. We had some headlines come out of Russia, and I was trying to explain to you what those were. I wasn't even sure myself. You had a better idea of that. But we did have news out of Russia. Now, we've had a lot of news out of Russia and Ukraine over the last few years, but it's not affecting the wheat market as much anymore. This headline actually gave wheat a bid, and it looks like they're running for the door a little bit on these shorts. I will say this, if wheat wasn't up 10 to 15 a day, I don't think corn would be down one or two. It'd probably be down four. So, yes, to your point, wheat is helping corn uh, from breaking, right? And so corn looks over at wheat and says, you're up 15 or 18. I better go with you. But then by the end of the day, you see they're selling the corn. And so you're not seeing those funds buy back that corn as much as they are buying back wheat. It'll be interesting to see what the funds do as we come in the spring, because as you know, oftentimes we trade a weather market. And at this point, it would be a weather rally, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's a question that I wanted to delve into. The fund's really short going into the planting season. Do they want to be this short without any risk premium really in this market?
We talk about the funds like they're a friend, like you and I, and the funds aren't like tomorrow. You won't be interviewing the funds. The funds are everyone. I mean, they're worldwide. They don't get together and have a meeting and say, "Hey, we're planting. We better not be short." I think, and I do have some friends who trade some big money in the funds. Is that they're very technical, and as you start to see markets cross moving averages, and one of them would be the 100-day moving average. So when it comes to corn, we cross the 20, we cross the 50. Look like all systems are go, and then we fall right back into it. Those moving averages affected the meats this week as we crossed into moving averages. So until we spend several days above the 100-day moving average, I don't think the funds panic. And I wish we could meet these people, the funds, but it's a much bigger picture than that.
Yeah. So 450 corn has been elusive, but $12 beans have as well. We can't stay above that level very long. So just like the rest of the complex, we're pretty range bound unless we get a kind of a big update in something like soybean oil like we did on Friday, right?
Yeah, and probably my clients up in North Dakota are going to be like, Michelle Rook said 450 corn. Where could we get that? That's a futures price, folks.
Futures.
And part of the Dakotas, we're trading 60, 70 under. So we're 380, 390 cash corn. But when it comes to May futures, yes, it looks like and it feels like they're going to go to 450. And then you look at the quote board and you're like, we're in the 430s again. Just can't get above there and stay above there long enough. Watch that 50 and 100-day moving average. Can we spend a week above the 50? Can we cross into the 100? Over time, those averages will come down because of just the weight of the mathematics that are spending this many days at lower prices. So, yes, we know this going into spring. We had a wonderful rainfall system that hit this week, and I think that was as much the selling pressure as anything else. It has been rainy and gloomy in Northwest Indiana for 4 days, and I've talked to friends in Central Illinois. Plenty of moisture to get this crop started. Even our friends in northern Iowa, in eastern Iowa were blessed with rains this week. So we need that part of the drought to get cleared up, and it's all systems go for a record crop in 2024. At least it could be.
Yeah. And weather right now, like you said, depending on where you're at, if you get rain, even if you get a delay in terms of planting, they'll take the moisture. And so overall, what's the market sentiment, as we start this new season? Do we have enough, I guess, gas in the tank here to have some sort of a weather rally during planting or early part of the growing season or not?
Great question. I hope we do, but I would flip it and say, what if we don't? What if this crop just goes in perfectly? All these extra bushels and carry out that we know we have flood to town during May, June, and July. It's going to take the month of May to get this crop planted. These bushels are going to make it to town, especially old crop. Well, they has to be old crop, right? The new crop couldn't make it to town yet. Old crop bushels are going to town June, July, and August as we make room for what could be a record crop. Myself, and the lectures and speeches I give at Advanced Trading and ATI Pro Media every morning is pretend you're going to have a record crop. You now have crop insurance. We made it through the planning intentions report. The scariest thing I have to report into you is we had a bullish corn number last week, and the market doesn't care, Michelle.
One commodity that did not have a good week last week was the cattle market because of HPAI news. Is that going to continue to be the story there? And are we going to be influenced by it?
Yeah, this was not a one-day media story where, oh, they found that this is going to continue. And as long as they're continuing to test, like we know from our experience in COVID, if you test every American for COVID, you're going to be shocked how many people actually have it. So as they start testing animals and coming up with new procedures and ways of looking at, hey, who's healthy, who's not, what's going on, there's a whole new attention to it. We all want this story to go away, and we want everyone to know out there that the food supply is safe. But if someone yells fire, they're going to call the trucks, Michelle.
Cattle market, has it overreacted to the HPAI news, and can we recover?
Great questions. We have bullish fundamentals, but I'm not going to be the guy who goes broke on bullish fundamentals. No matter what, no matter the fundamentals, the cattlemen and cattlewomen's risk has been that the market does exactly what it's doing. Has the market overreacted? I won't be able to tell you till next week, but I think it could go down some more. I think it has momentum. When you look at that 20, 50, 100-day moving average, we've crossed over so many of them. And if you looked at a chart, if you didn't know what I know or you know or the fundamentals, you'd say cattle are starting to trend lower. Now we'll have to really widen out those charts and look at weekly and monthlies, but there is a risk-off environment happening. You had mentioned milk to me, and that milk's not something I've only traded a few times, but milk market didn't react nearly anything like the cattle market did.
No, it did not. Conversely, we have seen the funds exit positions in the cattle. Are they moving over to the hogs? Because we're hitting new contract highs in the June on back over there.
Well, my good friend from Advanced Trading, Tony Dunker, said, don't forget to tell everyone that June Hogs absolutely had a great week and that's an actionable event worth protecting through both futures, options, LRP. However you do it, folks, hogs are one of the last hopes here when it comes to the actual meat commodities. We've noticed we've seen some incredible price action in gold, but there's nobody eating gold bars. So the stuff we deal with, the hogs, are the one ray of sunshine here when it comes to actual good price action this week.
We should mention LRP has been a pretty important tool for producers, hasn't it?
Yeah, depending on when you're watching this, listening to this, you have until about 8 o'clock, early 8 a.m. on Saturday morning to do LRP. Now, I hear at some point, maybe in July, they're going to change those rules, especially when reports come out on Friday. I am not registered to sell LRP, but my coworkers are. And boy, if news was to come out Friday afternoon or Friday night, that might be an opportunity to do something. So if you're out there, make sure you have a relationship with someone who sells LRP. If you need to call us, we could do that. I'll do you all a favor, watching and listen to this. I'll keep my cell phone on all night, and I'll get you hooked up with an LRP agent if news comes out here on Friday night.
Because of your background, I got to ask you about these outside markets. Certainly, the stock market did not have a good week. There's been, I guess, talk that maybe these interest rate cuts are not going to happen as fast as we thought, or we're not going to get as many as we thought. What is the market trading right now?
Non-farm payrolls, jobs. We created over 300,000 jobs in America. that is not a sign of a collapsing economy. Now we're coming into a political election, and the current president's going to say that, I did this, I made the stock market at this level. And the former president running for president again is going to say, oh, the economy's collapsing. But he's going to look silly if he says that, because really the economy's not collapsing. Inflation is still running rampant. And so when the payrolls number came out today, the bond market collapse. We're seeing 10-year yields go up, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 30, all across the curve. And I did spend years trading those products and still do. Interest rates are not going down. We actually notice some of the Fed speakers in between meetings, the Fed people go out and they give a little color. Kashkari out of Minnesota, Minneapolis. So, maybe we don't have to get down to 2% to lower rates. Maybe we could do it before that. They're trying so hard to lower rates, but let's use some common sense here, folks. If the economy's screaming higher and the stock market, even though it's had some volatility, is only a few percent from all-time high, what's the rush to lower rates? And that is very much going to affect you who are watching this in agriculture, because the cost of money is 3 times higher than it's been for the last 15 years, Michelle. And that's so important when it comes to marketing your grain, your animals, everything else, or prepaying for chemical. I talked to a chemical seed guy just north of Ames, Iowa, up there, and he said, wow, we get busy this week. Nobody wanted to prepay, or very few people were prepaying, but they're all going to plant a crop, and they were all saving their money for the last moment. And so you're seeing the way farmers and agriculture deal with money.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Tommy Grisafi with Advanced Trading. That's Markets Now.